So chop lower contracts. Hopefully, as we're looking into tomorrow. Hold on one second. Um, or excuse me, not tomorrow, but Monday. Monday starts the week with well, excuse me, finishes the week being closed on Friday. So we only have 4 trading days. So we're going into a short week. Oh yeah, today was a premium cooker, and I mean today I had a little $500 loss. And pretty much just stepped away, keeping some contracts on the upside and downside, there just in case, news came out. But going into next week, right, we're going to have, and we'll recap all this Sunday. We're only going to have two days of important data. Wednesday, we have FOMC members talking on Monday. So, again, Trump is also going to dictate what happens over the weekend. So Tuesday, nothing. Wednesday, core retail sales with Fed Chair Powell speaking at 1:30. And then Thursday, we've got unemployment claims. So again, swing traders, we need to keep this in mind. Looks like the Qs are trying their hardest to kind of peak up here, but still have to go for that cost basis mark in order to get this gap. If anybody's holding any gap targets at 464 and 466, that's the only move I think that would really make sense for us to profit off of. So, speaking of, and we'll move over here. Our 24-hour candle. I don't remember if I said this, but I talked to. I feel like I did say this yesterday. Actually, I can't remember. But it's inside candle. Right now, by the end of the day, it is possible that we see that run up to 458.69 to go and hit the top of this red candle. Obviously, that doesn't really give us a signal. That's the long and short of this. We simply have a candle in range, right? Using these wicks, which lets us know that on the 4-hour, right, this is what we're looking at. Now we're curling up more towards that 458, but that still serves as a rejection point if it happens too fast. But over the weekend, right, the only thing that I can really do is speculate. And I believe that 473.80 target, 472.50 target is one of the targets to the upside for a swing trade, which would allow you to kind of target the 480s. But all of this is speculative, right? We don't have anything necessarily on the charts. We do see empty space to the downside, but that needs to be off of a break underneath 441. That's easy to identify. The gap fill up above us, right? That's over 550 or 459. So, if you are trading or swinging over the weekend, that's something that you need to use to target and to use as far as risk management is concerned. That's funny. I get that a lot. Dios mío.
Yes.
But we were just talking about that earlier. It's like bouncing like these ideas because it seems very speculative in terms of what we're going to swing into. But like the way I see, or personally like see this thing turn out, if we like gap up Monday and open up at like 462 resistance, then that would be like we need to either close a candle above it to continue. Otherwise, like that would be like hitting resistance and falling back down, right?
Right. Yeah. And I think right now with, the upside target, would be 467, right? Because that, in my opinion, represents a floor that needs to get reclaimed if we're going to start backtracking up towards the 50% mark right here of this range that I'm talking about, and then the high right here, right? It's not a box. It was a box. We punched down through, right? And so in order to get back up, these aren't going to trigger the same, but it is, 476 and stuff like that. So, yeah, there's still more room to swing, or rather not even swing, sorry, but to trade into these things intraday or in the morning. So, again, the signal's not there for me, but there is, some clarity as far as what's above and what's below. And that's good because that gives us a decent blueprint. Yeah, so I mean, well, here's the thing. Right now we're building. We're not creating empty space, so it's not, doesn't necessarily have to be the smoothest move. But what we are set up for, right, is both the play down, and this isn't hard to see, right? We have the play up. If this doesn't happen over the weekend, right, kind of looks like it might. But then if you gap up above, you're leaving a gap behind. You have a gap above that can make for, a turbulent open. But regardless, right, underneath this 441.75, I think we go for the whole enchilada back down. So
And that was Jorge and I were talking about like contract selection where we would, look at playing it. Like if you look at the top of that resistance level, of that second box that you drew, the middle one,
yeah.
what was that level at? What's the floor on, or sorry, the ceiling on that one? Maybe a little 450 area?
Wait, where I'm over here.
Yeah, box. Yeah.
Oh, the top, like
Around like 450. Yeah, the
four,
451.
450.80. Yeah.
Yeah, so that potentially could still bounce at that level, right? You want to target for a candle close underneath that cost basis.
Right.
Is that true?
But how? Yeah, yeah. I mean, essentially, yes. And with a candle close underneath 450.85, you could still use that as a stop loss to go short because at this point you're not you're holding if we're holding this 452 floor up above us, and so we've done kind of retested, right? So really wouldn't want that to happen again. It decreases
Yeah.
the probability of us going up. So
Yeah, this would be the third attempt at it or something like that.
right. So anyway, that's the cues. I don't really see much different. Well, let's take a look at the weekly candle. The weekly candle, again, anytime I'm looking at the weekly, I see a tap right here. And so looking into next week, I wouldn't be surprised. We'll see if we can keep on a roll here. If we see, right, a candle that looks like that, kind of inside, maybe even stretching up and tapping here, but we needed to be or close above 461.50, and then we tapped the two floors up above us. So as far as upside is concerned, we're going to have to build off of what we've established today and off of the 24-hour. So moving on to SPY, this one, weekly time frame, this one did in fact go up and tap that open. This one I could see a candle literally fit right in between these two bars going into next week and this is a big if we can continue, right? The market is in a speculative, not quite, we have a lot of fear, there's a lot of anticipation, there's a lot of, you know, but the buyers aren't strong enough to establish any sort of foothold where sellers started this. So at the moment, you know, um, moving down into the 24-hour, again, we talked about that inside candle. This is creating tension. So I definitely think going into Monday, we can see some movement, but it's that weekly candle that's really going to determine whether we get up or not. Now, on the 24-hour, this was the box that we were in need of recovering, right? We tapped the wick, but we didn't quite get the floor here at 552. This leaves this as an open play. Now moving down to the 4-hour, you see we were bouncing up, we've left the gap, so it is absolutely, I think, possible for us to pop up and then come back down, right? So as far as whether or not there's a play here, I don't again, have a Potter box, punchback, empty space. The only empty space is based on the difference between now and when we close. It has the same setup as the queues with the box right here, fighting against cost bases with the gap fill up above. So that's about it. So if you do trade going into this weekend, again, lower time frame, you're trying to signal something, but most, if not all of this is speculative, and you are in hope of some sort of crazy headline tweet that's going to jolt the market in one direction or another. And that's really the most important thing to me. Well, as far as any sort of speculative positions, it's almost like earnings. This weekend would have to deliver some huge news. Sunday night, futures open, we would need to see something, a hefty loss, like gapping down underneath the floor here at 520. We have a lot of empty space down. So IWM, yeah, not much of a difference here, folks. Definitely has way more tension. I would not be surprised if IWM moves first and leads the market. It's kind of leading us in rotations inside of this range. At this point, yes, you still have this top right here, and I'm going to use the wick. And I know the candle kind of pops up above it, but that's the gap fill. So, 190 is still in the cards here. That's going to be over the open at 186.50. But otherwise, you have just the same thing to the downside with a little bit of empty space and structure below. So no signal. There should be no pressure to get into a serious position, without confirmation. We don't have any. Anything else is just speculation. So gap downs usually keep gapping down when they've gapped down below something that buyers control. Same thing with gap ups. All right, so we'll see. Again, I've given you guys the targets for SPY and the Qs. Use that to take a trade based on, again, there's still the probability of them decreasing these contracts value because they are so stretched out. So any sort of, position taken for me is going to be pretty moderate. But it's still the season of wanting to keep something on the table. So you can play a little bit, couple stretches outside of your target in order to capture that IV, but that's it. All right. We've gone over the news, and then I think last thing, and we're not going to do this right now, but I think next week starts earnings, and that, could be an opportunity with everything kind of down in the dumps for us to potentially make some bags up or down. So we'll look at that this Sunday, and go from there. All right. If you guys have anything you'd like for me to take a look at, if I sound tired, I'm a little tired. We'll go ahead and do that now. So AVGO 24. Well, let's take a look at the weekly. The weekly, you went up and tapped your floor. Did you recover it? No, that's 187.32. Simple answer, right? Now on the 24-hour, now I'm tempted to give it this, right? And that's just showing the most respect here. So 192.50, even if you were to stretch this all the way out, it would still leave that as your cost basis. So just focusing on what's above you and obviously what's been respected, that's what needs to happen on the 24-hour in order for you to go higher, and then your target. It's a little bit elusive here, but I would be looking at 206 and right off of the wick. So 215 would be my two targets here, and then at the bottom of the box.
Watch cues here.
Yep, I'm watching them. 4-hour. Yeah, so same thing, gap fill box. You just need to take this step by step. It's crazy crisp box, but
Yeah, ES looks bullish, but we'll see.
waiting to really just the close here is going to be really important.
Don't tease me, Juan.
Trust the process.
Floor 337, that's been tapped. So this is either your 1, 2, 3, and you head back down, right? And that would be, you know, if you gap down, that would be nasty. Or you have a gap to fill at 338. I almost broke it, but if you're looking to take this up, it's 340, 344. Now, I don't really see a ton of empty space to the upside, so you know that's a different story there. But there is a downtrend as well that kind of lines up. So, listen, today, if you burned in a whole, if you burned a real, listen, I got stopped out once, lost $500, and I pretty much just kept what the up and the downside just in case we saw some sort of break. I have, you know, upside trades right now. I'm waiting and I'm watching, but today was the majority of today was spent inside of a box. And once that failed break happened at the upside and we started chopping, you know, that's why I stepped back from my computer and not shit has happened today. And sometimes we know why and we'll still ignore it. It's Friday. You know, if they rip this up to the upside at the end of the day, news comes in, cool. It has the setup to maybe do that. And I'm waiting. I have contracts, you know, open to try and markets buy into. So like, you know, we're just waiting and watching. But the majority of today, right? I think after that first stop out was just like, okay, back off, draw the range and back off. So what if China blocks all trade with the US? I suspect a lot of companies are going to suffer. A lot. That is an understatement, probably. Go flip the label on any fucking store you go to. You imagine they shut that down? Target, Walmart. In fact, you know, not being a conspiracy theorist, but might be time to fucking start buying some shit up, you know? Doesn't work out, I guess resell it. JPM looks like it has a target at 242.11 to the upside. Yeah, all this stuff is idiotic, but anyway, the target to the upside is 238.33. Obviously, that's it needed, and could be a space to actually chop. This is either going to serve as a retest or as the potential climb back up, and you have a box underneath you, so staying above 236 is going to be pretty important. And it says earnings, so I could see 262 if it goes well. Downside's a little bit. I could see an inside candle.
We have earnings.
He said he had earnings. That I think next week we do. Target has a weekly candle recovering nothing, holding a wick of $90, just barely. Why'd you? Hey. The fuck was that? God damn. Living in a fucking sitcom. Target, Apple. Yeah, I mean, sorry. Target straight up. I mean, I really don't know what to say other than you box. You do have empty space to the upside, so you know if you decide to take it, it doesn't look the worst coming down and bouncing off of that lower time frame box. So you know to take a shot out and up into that empty space actually doesn't look. It's not the worst setup I've seen. So. Will you be my sitcom dad? Okay, this person has called me 3 times. Give me 2 seconds.
The worst, man. Calls you 3 times. Oh, what the fuck they're gonna say?
Yeah, but I think J.P. Morgan has earnings after the close. Panda.
And when you gonna come back to us, Juan?
I think JP Morgan's earlier today.
Was there today?
I see that they already reported.
Okay, so Bro was right. Me next month. I can come back if you guys need my analysis and stuff.
Yeah, we missed you.
Where are you hiding?
I made what did I make today? I mean, not today. I lost 1K, but I made 6 yesterday.
Nice.
So let me get at least 3 more payouts, and then I'll start doing stocks again.
Yeah.
All right. Target app. Is that Apple or APPL? It's got to be Apple. See this one. Okay, you can see I even drew it there too. The only difference would be, you know, if this is the wall. I mean, you're there. You see, the Apple led. Apple went and filled its gap. The next target to the upside is a weak fucking floor at 202.82 weekly time frame. Yeah, weekly time frame. You're up against the floor. That's a tough one, man. I actually, looking at that, yeah, look at it across the board. So your previous sell wall, you're up against it. It's hard to say no to that. You know, it's hard to look the other way and be like, nah, you know, you are up against an important level. The 24-hour, you know, again, hard to say no to. So if you did take Apple and you targeted the two, what are the Apple contracts at? Are these fucking, you don't post the recaps on YouTube anymore? I do. What are you talking about? A couple of ones I've had to not post because something was messed up on them, but yeah, for the most part, recaps, all that. If I swing Apple, I mean, it doesn't look bad. I guess really what's going to dictate whether or not, because I haven't traded Apple in a long time. But something like this is,
like 2 weeks out, maybe.
I don't even know if I would do that. I would expect for it to happen really fast. Fuck. I mean, dude, the 220s all the way up here are $50.
Hell.
I mean, the IV is stretched out, so you know, if 215 hits, your contracts are going to be in the 180s, you know, stuff like that. The delta and stuff is good. See, the IV is not even that crazy. The open interest is really, really wide.
To me, it looks easy to me. Straightforward, but that's me.
So I'm saying it looks straightforward, but the contracts are not.
Yeah. Don't get crazy, guys.
Freaking out.
I guess it's not the worst. $50. If you can't, you can't. Yeah, it'd be. You could only do 220s as the nearest psychological target and floor, and it is empty space ends all the way at 215. So you know if we had the juice, but it's also something that you would need to use SPY or the Qs, one or the other, to hedge. So uh-huh. Yep. All right. There's not a straightforward answer as far as IV, because IV is relative to the company. Some companies have high IV all the time. Some companies have no IV.
Yes, chef.
ER play up sketches me out a little bit, but you know, the green candle pulling off of this, it also just really doesn't give me a huge.
Please complete that sentence before it clips.
Give me a huge Bonner. Yeah, so I see a nice little channel here building, so you know, I can call for cost basis. If that breaks, you know, if you can make your way over 279, you know, maybe 290s, but yeah, weird volume on that thing. BA, same setup as everything else. Inside candle. We see the channel kind of pulled back into it. I'm gonna give you price points, but not, I can't say definitively, because you know, like everything else, you're operating in a really tight range. You have the channel to the downside, you have the gap up above, the gap gets pushed, then you have a target of 163 and 166. But that's if, right? And when we don't have a candle close or any sort of anything to look forward to, it just unfortunately leaves speculation. Other times, you know, we get a candle close up against or outside of the wall and we could make a definitive choice off of that. But some days that's not clear. So Mara, that one is tempting, you know. You are dead slap up against the wall. You do have empty space up above. So flat out, you know, yeah, it does have a good setup for 1364 to be the target. Like everything else though, it is just sitting under, right? Slightly under. So it has to be a move overnight that will push this up. News, whatever the case may be, and it's not the worst setup to do that. So you would more than likely be looking at what is the worst case scenario to hedge, because you know, for me, hedging into these environments is just a necessity, because you don't want to get caught, you know, and because the moves can be so drastic to the downside, those downside plays will usually pay well over what you know lost. So but worst case scenario here is that you drop and you wicked off of it today, right? That, and that's 1175. Underneath that, right, you would more than likely drop into the 1060s, and in my opinion, this would be considered your box, right? So if that's the case, you would probably be looking at $10 down, but the target is up at 1350, and like we state with all channels are built to expand. So it actually is yeah, it's a fucking kind of tempting setup, if I do say so myself. And I would assume that Mara, and playing these cheaper stocks is a way to get into things, into market moves that, you know, you might not be able to play SPY. Yeah, those are 1350s are well priced. 14s are priced well. So crypto news overnight. Yeah, you can get 20 for $600. Or the options down. And we don't do this on every play, but in this environment, yeah, they're half the cost. You get half the contracts. Rod. Yeah, today was a terrible trading day for options. But it's actually a good day because we need this sideways action to lower the price of options outside of the money and pull that IV back in. So this is China, so obviously there's some drama associated with this. Tough call on this one as well, as you are, like everything else in the Chinese era, in range. There is empty space and retest of above, but there has to be some sort of relief. And if that does happen, you would be in the perfect position to catch it. So if you could find something cheap enough, I would be looking at like 33. Unfortunately, this is kind of a shit chart, but I'm not selling options. Oh, what's up, Dabby Patty? You'll get it, man. You'll have that moment. Everybody does. All right. Hood. It's a big ass fucking weekly candle. And I think it's traveling towards the 46.33 area. But, I mean, it does kind of look like it wants to go fucking crazy, doesn't it? So let's establish a couple of lines in the sand. Right now it's 48.42 on the 24-hour time frame. In order to get higher, that should line up. Yeah, basically with cost basis. I guess I could pull that candle in. There we go. So 49.13, and then you do have empty space all the way up to the fucking top. So I would be aiming for the top if that's your upside play. You've got a channel here we've talked about as well, and that would put you at the same resistance. So 49 is going to be your biggest obstacle there. Yo, nice job, man. One red day out of the whole month of April. Job, dude. All right. Is that about it? If you guys have nothing else, we'll go ahead and cover SPY, IBM. It's all right if you don't take a position. I think it's important to have, something on the table if you can. If you can't, where's the signal at? We don't necessarily have it. There's plenty of room on both sides of the trade. So 4 hour, just another one, man, that it has its channel here to the upside that you've been operating in. It's got a gap fill and a target that lines up with that confluentially at 240.87. So maybe we gap up to that floor, wick up and hit 242, and then pull yourself back in. You are above your resistance and trying to hold going into the end of the day. So I see a short move up. He broke even? Who broke even? Who are you talking about?
Garrett, you think 405s are a crazy hedge on the Qs?
405s? No.
Yeah, I mean, I could be
No,
closer
I
to
don't.
415, but okay.
If we were to
That's
get a
close.
bigger move, right, another one like this week, then that's inevitably those contracts all the way out to 400 and beyond would be filling up. So, Pet Flask, I don't know what you yapping about, dude. Yeah, Disney to the downside. See that one. Oof. Here's what I see when I look at this one. You've got two. It's a really interesting setup because right now you're in this box bouncing off cost basis. I could see this thing popping off on Monday. You either retest here and then come back, right? And that's where you decide whether we're going to rip up. That's a market wide decision, right? And it kind of almost looks that way, like it could rip up. But it would, you have plenty of, like, you have 8604 and 87 to go long. So there's empty space above and below the Qs. Should you have, that is, yeah. I'm glad to come across you. I'm going through your YouTube right now, and thanks for all you do, bro. Of course, man. Expiration.
Yo, Garrett,
Yeah,
check your DM.
bro. What'd you do? Bro, are you serious?
Yeah, bro.
Bro, congratulations, man. A house, bro. The boxes paid for the closing cost. Man. Dude, that's my fucking boy, Heenwich. Damn, dude. I'm super proud of you, man. That is fucking amazing. Let me know when the housewarming party is.
Thanks, man. It's money I never had, so it's nice.
I get all those conversations, dude, paid off, dude. All your hard work. That's fucking that's a huge W, bro.
Yeah, how long I've been in here? Because I swear it like just started clicking like end of last year.
About 3
But then I
years.
took that huge break too.
Yeah, I think it was like 3 years. Right around the same time Jorge, right? Yeah, I was mentoring you
Yeah,
both.
that's my guy right there, Heenwich, man.
What up, bro?
What's good, dude? I haven't heard your voice in here in a minute.
Yeah, I pop in here and there, but I just kind of do my own thing. But
That's the way it's supposed to be, dude. That's fucking amazing. Homie just closed on his house. Is that your first house?
yeah, it's my first one. I was renting a place before, and then my mom got married, moved out, so it kind of all worked out with my lease. And yeah, I just closed today.
Fucking amazing, dude. Beautiful. I'm looking at charts every waking hour at this point. Damn, dude. You know, one thing that I see from a lot of people out there, you know, that it's, if you are, you know, what prolongs the journey a lot of the times is when you start putting money, like if you, you know, fire spitting kitten, if you can't go to a chart and make sense of it, right, from top to bottom, you're gonna struggle. It's just that simple. You're gonna not understand, right? You're gonna be, now if you do that with a little bit of money, $100, $500, right? You're saying to yourself, I'm learning, and this is that environment, and I'm still gonna feel it. You're gonna feel the emotions. You're gonna still learn lessons that you need to learn, but you're gonna do it, and that's respect to the game, right? It's like you don't put a bunch of money that's going to emotionally scar you, you know, even if you have 500K to trade with, I'd rather trade with $1,000, or 500. And this is just going to keep you true, when it comes to waiting for the good setups, because you're going to learn your lesson. But Keenwich has been with the Discord for 2 years. 2 years. Okay, so 2 years. That's fire.
That's it?
Yeah,
It had to have been longer than that. Wow.
that's what she said. Yeah, 2 years. Maybe a little bit over. Yeah, of course, and that's in reference to anybody. Like, in order to create the strategy, I did go to the extremes. I was just talking to a buddy about this, and there were moments where or periods of time where I did not fucking leave my room. Like, I mean, sleeping on the floor, like drawing on the walls, like post-it notes everywhere, like madness. Cups, neckbeard type shit, and but I was in there creating something. In order for you to get this strategy, if you look at 4 or 5 charts a day, you'll get there. But not just being able to look at charts, but being able to discern between what is even worth charting, right? Half the time you guys will hear me, I'll be like, yeah, because I'm looking for 2 things, and they're super simple. We know what they look like: big fat green candles and big fat bulging red candles. Both of those and structure on the 24-hour time frame and weekly. And when you stop, you don't even I tell people this as well. Like, if I have to put effort, and this might, I don't give a shit if anybody don't like this, but if I have to try hard in order to figure out this setup, no. I'm not going to, because my money's, what I'm trying to capture here is low priced contracts coming out of consolidation, right? It's a formula. It's like this plus this plus this equals this. And so if I have to throw extra equations in there, I don't mind taking something that has to work through structure over time, weekly, maybe we're at the bottom, maybe we've crashed and gone sideways for 4 months. Okay, I can take that into consideration. But if you want to take the next leg up, slow down and make sure that before you enter the room, you know what you're looking for. It's that simple, and it's going to take repetition. I've done this before. I've said this before. My formula was going to the earnings charts. Earnings Whisper only puts the higher volume, more important earnings, right? It can only fit so much on their graphics. So go through and chart them all of them, every single one of them, and decide trash from, okay, I can see something happening here. I can see that we've been consolidating for months. I can see that we dumped really hard on the last earnings and haven't moved in the last 2 earnings. We also need to know, and earnings is a different formula, formulary. What the fuck? But it's a different formula. We're looking at one big day, one big move, all after hours, or pre-market. But still going through the chart, in not just looking for the earnings move, but what is the move? But through doing that and then watching these things play out, because what does earnings provide? A fast forward button. You're making sometimes months or weeks of progress in a moment. So you get to see the fruit of your labor. Was I right or was I wrong? But understandably so, we are in an environment of instant gratification, right? The marshmallow test, where you give a kid a marshmallow and you say, if you wait 5 minutes, you'll get 10 marshmallows. And most kids eat it because the marshmallow's right there. Well, right now we're in a field of marshmallows, right? Looking for bags of them. And so you're not going to take every single one of them. But if you can't identify, or you don't understand fully this system, and you start fucking trying to trade, you're going to learn lessons that you don't want to learn. And that's okay, but it's not okay if you're putting too much money into it, or if you're putting shit that you care about. So strategy first, always, most important. And if you keep putting too much money into it or keep doing too much, yeah, you're going to keep hitting those walls. So why wouldn't you just focus on one and be great at it? We only have one strategy. There's only one thing that I'm looking for. And so I only look for that. Disney, right? Out of consolidation, above $87. Empty space, up to 89, right? Gap fill potential. That's a good setup. Does it need to cook? Yes. Good contracts, right? So, but here's the deal. It's not triggered right now. So how many people feel the irresistible urge to fucking take it? It's not set up, right? If it happens overnight, shit, fuck, too bad, right? That's FOMO, your fear of missing out. I need to get in because if I don't get in, but how many times have we seen the signal at the end of the day and we take it and it works? So I'll take my chances with abiding by the system. But anyway,
Hey,
so
Garrett,
yeah, what's up?
real quick, we'll look at cart.
Sure.
Looks like it's-
Coke. Yeah, I was looking at Coke real quick. So I don't consider this, and I did try to box. Let's look at the weekly really quick. Hot damn. That's a big fucking candle. Num, 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 num. 72 is your candle close right across. Obviously, it's a little bit higher over here. So 24-hour time frame. We're going to piggyback that up a little bit more. So I'm going to say, as of right now, good build, right? You need to be above 7240, 7250. And that is actually set up on the chart right now, as long as you can hold up above 7068 because of the empty space above 7274. You need to push up and above that. You're a little weak right now, and you do have this channel that you're, I'm sensing a really nice control. So, it's up in the air. You're fighting up against that resistance right now. Even if it did fall, though, you would have to pull back all the way into this right here, and that's $70 flat.
Yes, chef.
All right. So just for, I know everybody's trying to figure out what I'm taking. Where did it go? Hold on one second. So I bought Mara 13.50 calls and $10 puts on both sides. Yeah, we have almost 2 minutes here. And then for next week on the Qs, right? We talked about the over here on the 4-hour time frame. We have the empty space down to the 420 mark, right? Now 420s are a bit pricey, so 415s is right around my sweet spot. I like underneath $30 if you haven't noticed. So the 415 strike, I cannot emphasize enough that this is speculative only. I could put $3,500 into this trade. I could put $5,000 into this trade right now. I'm putting in $600. So if you decide to do something stupid and buy too much and this shit chops us to death next week, that's on you. Make sure you make a good decision. Calls to the upside, and again, we're in a special part of the a part of the market where, yeah, anything can happen over the weekend. So we're keeping that in mind, and we're keeping our risk low. But we know that the market can move in wide, sporadic movements, which allows us to play outside of the money. That is going to be around 470 now. Well, excuse me, 467, right? Which those are pretty pricey. They're $1.50, but 475 is the next strike out, and those are 50, right? So that leaves me in a bit of a pickle, where the only strikes that I really can look at is the 480s, right? And because if we were to get that big of a move, the IV would stretch out if we hit 460s all the way into the 500s and the 490s. So I would be able to take profit on that. Again, if you can't, you can take it next week. Don't have FOMO. Yeah, if you buy longer expiration some people do better with longer expiration contracts because they can't, that anxiety of, sporadic back and forth is too much. So all right. So Dabby, right now, we have a little bit of each, right? We're in an environment. Okay, so here's and this is not something that we do every single time. I just want to emphasize that in this condition where we have empty space down and we have a gap to fill and empty space up, with the news and the environment that is currently being shaped by our politicians and the rapid dropping of news that keeps happening, both of these we hold the potential for both. But we don't have a signal to do either one, right? In accordance to my system. My system just says that you're in between this box and in between that top right there at 459, and neither one of those have broken. Which means that next week, you can see this, right? Which would do us a huge favor, but if you're taking full-size positions, going to eat your ass to pieces. So right now, in order to make sure that I've got my foot in something, because yes, this is the kind of market that I don't want to miss out on. That's what I have. So if you can't though, right? And that's if you're $500, $10,000, $5,000, $1,000 accounts, if that's you, right? Sure, you could buy 2 or 3 on both sides, 1 or 2. But if you didn't, it's something that you can address on Monday, right? So even if it means that even if we were to gap up huge, there's still typically in this environment, we've seen it where you gap up and you rip, or you gap down and you dump. So like there's still next week should be entertaining, especially the week afterwards. It's all for Monday. All right, folks. I think overall this week was amazing. Those of you in the Discord, even though today was a bit kind of exactly what we talked about this morning, some of the percentages and gains that we've seen this week have been ridiculous. So proud of a lot of you guys for making another leg up, taking your own trades. Even while I was gone at Disney, you guys had some pretty good price action, and at least from what I can tell, a lot of you were posting ridiculous shit like that. Like that's the most ridiculous shit I've seen in a long time. But good job. Next week or this Sunday, I'll be live. I'd like to do it at 5:30 Eastern time PM. So 5:30 PM Eastern time. We're gonna go ahead and actually, I think we should do 6. Let's do 6. That way, right when we hop on, futures are open and we can adjust our analysis from there. I don't want to start and then fucking adjust. So we'll start at 6 PM Sunday, and next week is a short week, so we'll see what happens with that. No Friday, it's only Thursday. Do you ever do late night lives? Huh? Oh god. Do I sometimes I go live. Usually when I get off of the computer, it's family time or wife time or lifetime. So
Hey Garrett, did you? Sorry,
what's up?
did you end up taking Apple?
Did I? Yeah, I did. I got 220s. April 17th.
Hey, so I grabbed a little bit of cart for.
Oh, I'm sorry, dude.
No, you're good, bro. I saw the setup. I went in light, put $400 in it, nothing crazy. I grabbed 45s.
Not bad. obviously with this close here, that's your only real obstacle in the way.
Yeah, I know it's a little early, but it's the weekend, and like I said, I didn't put a whole lot into it.
Yeah, keep me up to tabs on that one next week because I might have to join you on that one. Floor. But the weekly. Yeah, the weekly, that's a little different. So 41.50, and that's really going to open up the potential for this trade to pop back up. Yeah, it looks good. Came down, tested the box. Yeah, I actually like that one. Is that a channel bottom too? Sure enough. I don't hedge most of my trades. Not all of them. I would say like, maybe 50%. But average, I've said this before, win rates with good, like when you have a good risk to reward, TTI has talked about this with his system. You could lose 60% of your trades. You could lose 60%. And if you still have a good model as far as risk to reward, you can still be profitable. Win rates are advertising pieces, right? The people who care about win rates the most, because I've seen people with high win rates but low returns, and they're risking a lot. So the red days kick them back big, and the green days they're taking profit too soon. But it looks like they're winning, right? So that and the fucking fees. I haven't bought DJT, no. Yeah, Monday. Yeah, the Mara calls and puts are both green. A little wild. All right, folks. You guys have a wonderful afternoon. Have a great weekend. Enjoy yourselves. Have a beer. Do whatever.
Yes, chef.
All right, bro. Enjoy your weekend, man. Enjoy the fam.
Yeah, you guys too. I'm gonna answer
Enjoy it
your
all.
questions on TikTok.
Later.
All right, peace. I want to join this training family. We have a discount code right now. You can join to our website, but you can also go to my YouTube and get a lot of that information for free. How the fuck does someone get 11,000%? So I'll show you guys really quick. This is not like that's really high, but if you scroll through my whole Discord, right? This is just this week. So you'll see 1,000%ers, right? And of course, we've had a big week. But if I scroll up, right? And this is something that no other Discord, no other group, say for maybe the Put Brothers now, can claim, right? We absolutely, like, I'll just scroll up, right? Just kind of indefinitely. And without looking, anywhere that I stop, anywhere, you're going to see the same thing over and over and over again, right? Look at the percentages. This is 180. This is 310% right here. 618%, 460%, 312%, 1,500%, right? Huge. 500%. 376%. And it's been like this for a long time. So we don't trim or look at anything like that. 50% trades, bullshit. The market has so much more to offer. We're not being greedy. We're just really good at abiding by the system and holding to our targets. Yeah, everywhere. 211. So it's pretty badass. Anyway, I'm going to go ahead and take off. You guys have a wonderful week. I'll see you guys on Sunday.